Hi, friends. I've got my rice going on over there. And before it finishes, I want to talk a little bit about two metaphors or stories, sort of thought experiment stories. And I think generally they sort of relate to overthinking, which is something that mind-based people get caught up with. If you're an intellectual by nature, or if you just have a strong mind relative to your body, relative to your emotions, so on and so forth, if you have a strong mind in general, then you probably deal with overthinking. And by overthinking, of course, I just mean more thinking than is beneficial or necessary. A lot of times making plans is really good. Some people should think things through more carefully. But for people like myself, and probably you too, since you're watching this, I guess, is that less thinking would be helpful. You've probably made the decision long ago and are just ruminating about it in a lot of cases. Anyway, so the first metaphor is, or a thought experiment story is, imagine, I'm not sure where I heard this first, but I really like it. So imagine you're in a room and there's a locked door in front of you, and you've got 3 keys. You've got one key made out of solid gold, and you have another key that's like a silver plated key that's just like engraved, beautiful silver key, and then you have this chunky bronze key. And the thought experiment is, which key do you use to open the door? And the answer, of course, is you use whichever key opens the door. And of course, you might try them all. Maybe you try the gold one first. But whatever key opens the door is the one you're going to use. And we tend to evaluate our options, what we should do in terms of, like, oh, this would be the ideal circumstance. This would be pretty good. Nah, I wouldn't really like that to happen. Something along those lines. That's what the quality, the material of these keys matters, or means in the story, of course. But ultimately, you just do whatever works. And this is a really silly and powerful. It's silly and it's powerful. It's silly, powerful metaphor in my life. A lot of times, what my thought process would assume is the ideal thing to do is just not going to happen for various reasons. Maybe it requires too much energy, or it's too expensive, or I haven't worked up the will to do it in that way. And so this reminds you to just do what works in the moment. And so, for instance, let's say, so I haven't done a video about veganism recently, and I should do some more, because I want that to be a major topic in my channel here. Because I like promoting veganism in a soft, peaceful, calm way, a way that makes it fun and super easy. And so with veganism, for instance, people will think that the gold key is being like a raw vegan or something like that. Like, you're only going to eat fruits and vegetables, and then maybe the silver key is that you're like going to add, I don't know, starches and cooked food to that meal, to that raw food base, and just kind of like eat all healthy whole foods that are vegan. And then maybe the bronze key is like eating whatever's vegan. And a lot of times that's just like the way you should do it. For instance, like Sour Patch Kids are a vegan candy, and they're great. I recommend it. Is it the gold key? No, probably not. No, I'm sure the colorings in the candy are less than ideal. For instance, the gold key in terms of veganism here, hypothetically, if the gold key was some sort of raw vegan diet where you're just eating fruits and vegetables and things like that, that would be really, really hard to pull off unless you're in a tropical island sort of setting where you've got access to super delicious fruit all the time. Even I'm here in Texas and in Austin, right? And there's like a ton of fruit available. It's great, but there's no way I would want to, or I mean, I'm sure I could force myself to do it. But there's no way I would want to actually eat a completely raw vegan diet. If I, in my mind, say like, well, the only thing that's going to open this door is an ideal diet, that's a recipe for failure. It's going to be too difficult, too expensive to get enough calories, to have enough variety, to not spend an inordinate amount of time traveling around and like you become like a fruit expeditionist. You know, you have to anyway, you get the idea. It's just too difficult. So a lot of times the conditions we set upon ourselves represent these kind of gold keys or silver keys, and sometimes, well, if you can do it for sure. This sounds like a really healthy way to live. But I actually have never met anyone who is able to make vegan lifestyle work just eating fruits, or just eating fruits and vegetables or something like that. And it's not like rice or pasta is bad for you. So go for it, make it easier on yourself. Don't get caught up in perfectionism. And the second metaphor I want to talk about that's kind of related, actually thinking about the first metaphor made me remember the second one. And that's the concept of good, better, best. And let's say you're in a situation where 3 options do accomplish a goal or move you closer to a goal. It's really, really helpful if you can consider the lowest option to be a good option instead of like the worst. Think of it as the good one. And then think of the middle option as being better. And then think of the last option as being the best option. That way, if you're like, this is kind of helpful when you're trying to change your life or do things differently. A lot of times we are just have such a lack of self-love when it comes to making life changes. And if you can kind of give yourself some options and redefine things as good, better, best, that's been a really, really powerful thing for me too. And the reason it reminds me, besides just being like 3 categories, is that it's a really, really good way to get rid of overthinking as well, to stop it in its tracks in the moment. And we're like, yes, sometimes you're deliberating options. Will I do this or will I do that? Well, decide what the easiest option that you can live with is. The one that moves you slightly closer to your goals, but is not incredibly difficult or seems easily doable. Make that the good one. And then define the better option and define the best and do what you can. And sometimes it's good to just do the good one. Because ultimately, we're looking for sustainable choices and sustainable changes. And of course, this applies to veganism too. And really just to health and wellness in general. Anyway, and so that's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope it's a great rest of the day for you. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.